Hey everybody, welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here with a special guest running for California Congressional District number 34. He's a Green Party candidate. It's Kenneth Mejia. I pronounced that correct, right?
Correct. Kenneth Mejia.
Kenneth Mejia. Now, Kenneth, you look a little too young to know anything about anything. 26 years old. A lot of people are going to be like, what does a 26-year-old guy know about? Now, you went to college, I'm assuming, and everything. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I actually ran for this seat last year when I was 25.
Get out of here.
In the Democratic Party. I was a write-in and got 1,177 write-in votes in 2 months of campaigning.
Wow. No kidding. Now, what? Wow. So, of course, I'm just kidding about you being young. You know, people don't know that Orson Welles was 25 when he did Citizen Kane.
But one thing, I actually graduated college in 2.5 years.
No kidding.
Yep. I received my bachelor's in science and accounting when I was 20 and received my certified public accounting license when I was 22. So I've been working 6 years and with numbers.
Now, are you just a driven guy like that, or were your parents just like really pushed you hard, or why? Where do you get that drive from?
Well, I got that drive from my mother, a born and raised single mother, for immigrant from the Philippines, and she took care of me and my 3 siblings, and she pushed us to use education as a tool to get wherever you need to be.
Yeah,
and that's what we did.
And now you're trying to get to be the. That would be great if you became. So now, why didn't you run as a Democrat? Why are you running as a Green Party candidate?
Right. So I ran last year in the Democratic Party, and then I left after, the whole debacle, what happened. I was a huge fan of Bernie Sanders and campaigned for him as well last year. And then after I saw what happened to him, what the DNC did to him and how the party sort of neglected him and his supporters as well, I realized they're not the party for me. And then I also looked at what, the criticisms of what the Democratic Party is fighting for is not the same as what the Green Party is fighting for.
How does it differ?
Right. So, for example, one of the big things that the Democratic Party, they should be fighting for is single payer. Last year, they didn't even include it as part of their Democratic Party platform or against fracking, or they couldn't. One big thing was in the past how they were against the Employee Free Choice Act. And so I gave them actually a chance because of Bernie Sanders. And so
they keep saying that he's not a real Democrat anyway.
Right,
You're like, no kidding, because he wants stuff that's actually good for people.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you can tell he's not a Democrat. Why? Because he's for single payer.
And the biggest thing, the Democrats are controlled by corporate interests, and the Green Party's not. So a lot of people it's a breathing ground, because if you remember, we saw the numbers: 24% are Democrats, 28% are Republicans, and the rest is independents. And a lot of people left the Democratic Party. So it's a great time, especially here in this district. This is the only district that won for Bernie Sanders in LA.
So what are some of the specific issues that deal with that you're dealing with that you want to highlight in your race for the 34th Congressional District in California?
Yeah, so talking to the community in Los Angeles, one of the big things is immigration, for example. It's a huge, diverse district. It's 60% Latino, 20% Asian, 10% Caucasian, and the rest, African American and indigenous. So it's a very diverse group, and there's a lot of immigrant community, documented and undocumented. So what we want to do is push for full legal status for all immigrants. So that's a huge thing we want to do.
And is that your opponent? What is his position on that?
Well, our opponents haven't taken a position on full legal status for all immigrants. Like, what we're doing is, when people think about it, like, full legal status for immigrants. Wow, that's radical. So
that's pretty radical.
And that's one big issue. And the next is healthcare. 1 out of every 5 people in our district don't have health insurance. One of the big issues we're pushing for is a single payer system, Medicare for all, because 1 out of every 5 people in our district don't have health insurance. And that's one big thing that the Democrats are not pushing for, that we are, as the Greens are. And a lot of people are receptive to it in the district. So that's a huge issue.
So I know that Medicare certainly is more popular than the Affordable Care Act, right? Or the
Correct.
ACA. Medicare is recently, I saw 58% approval, and then the ACA is low 40s. So why do you think that the Green Party's position is the single payer, correct?
Correct, single payer.
So why do you think the Democrats refuse single payer?
I believe the Democrats refuse single payer because they have backings by the health insurance industry. Big pharma, people who basically wrote the ACA. And
so you're saying that money is keeping the Democrats away from giving their constituents a better healthcare system just because of money?
Right.
That's a big
weird.
charge you're making there, Kenneth.
It's weird.
So wow, that's so. That's why we don't have single payer. Kenneth is saying, I've said it on this show before. He's saying because our government's corrupt.
Exactly. We're the only industrialized nation on earth to not provide guaranteed health care.
And it's because of the way our government's run, that we run our campaigns, which is corrupt, and nobody seems like the Democrats don't seem to even have a platform or a vision to do that. Like it's not even part of their. Is it part of the Greens Party to get money out of politics? And,
oh yeah,
like they won't even stop taking corporate money for the DNC. Did you see that? They voted for the DNC to keep taking corporate lobbyist money, and it's like, well, that's the whole goddamn problem. That's why Hillary Clinton's like they seem to learn nothing. Right. But you say you've learned from that.
Exactly, and that's why I left. It's hard to be a progressive in the Democratic Party. Democrats would rather fight progressives than beat Republicans. So,
well, I've said that on this show. Shama Sawant was the first one to say it to me, and I didn't. I thought she was kind of being a little exaggerated at the time, but she said that the Democratic Party would rather lose to a Republican than win with a progressive, and that the first order of business of the DNC wasn't to make sure they could defeat the Republicans, but to make sure they defeated the agenda of the working class, which was to defeat Bernie Sanders, right? And so that's really what they're all about. Now you see through that, and you say now. How are you for the working man? Are you for what? What would you be for?
I mean, if you look at what the Green Party and what we're fighting for is, number one, single payer, like healthcare. Like
okay.
The working class needs health insurance. Right now, they're not getting it.
Yeah, but then number we got to pay more taxes, right?
We could actually fund it through the Federal Reserve, through modern monetary theory is another big thing we could do. And then also taxing the 1% as well. So in terms of helping the working class, what we want to do is, what I'm pushing for in my platform is guaranteed basic income, $12,000 a year.
Oh, you guys are so rad. See, that's the problem. You guys get so crazy. That scares the hell out of everyone listening exactly. When you say stuff like they're like, well, they're crazy.
Yeah. Another big thing, 30-hour work weeks. You know, there are like 8 countries in Europe who work less than 30 hours. You know how, on average, how much Germany works?
Germany works less than
25.
25 hours a week?
Yeah, on average. And they provide healthcare as a right. They provide education as a right. How else can we provide the working class education as a right? Like that's another big thing. And canceling student debt.
So how could they do that? How does Germany people work half as much as they do in America? Basically, is that what you're saying?
Right. Those other countries, exactly. Those industrialized nations, they work lesser hours.
Wow. So, when you say something like a guaranteed
basic income,
that sounds like like a communist society to people. That's scary. That's exactly what everyone, they would go, who's going to pay for that? So who's going to pay for that?
Right. So the way it works, a lot of people don't know how our economic system works.
Right.
They
know how it feels.
Right. We're a monetary sovereign country.
Right. We print our own money.
Exactly.
Which is why we don't have the same problems Greece or any of the European Union.
Right. Exactly. And then we propped up $16 trillion to help Wall Street, and no one even knows that.
People who watch this show know that.
Exactly. And then, so if we could prop that up, then we could prop up $1.3 trillion to help student debt.
I agree.
We could prop up trillions, like billions of dollars to help provide a guaranteed basic income because basically, and then you also have, the development of technology and whatnot, and
So when people say rope, first of all, you're wrong because I watched John Oliver and he said you can't do that. Anyway, and if anybody,
me and John Oliver, we have.
If anybody knows about how quantitative easing works, it's a guy who works for, one of the 6 major media corporations. Anyway, that just drove me nuts. I don't know if you saw when he was doing that crap about
Jill Stein.
Yeah, Jill Stein, and you better know how quantitative he's. No. John F. Kennedy didn't know how to build a rocket, but he knew we were going to go to the moon. Okay, so that's where.
Right, but that's how our federal spending comes from. Deficit spending. So.
Yes. Right, people are. There's a lot of people are starting to figure out that it's people go free markets. Well, there's no such thing. Markets are invented by people who have the most money to protect themselves. That's what's called a free market, right?
Right.
So, like when the TPP happens, that's like free trade. It's not free trade. If it was free trade, why is it 20,000 pages long?
Right.
That's not free trade. That seems like trade built and designed to protect the wealthiest people in the world and patent holders at the expense of everyone else. All right, we're getting off track a little.
Right, but that's how we definitely want to help the working class, especially now that the top 1% owns as much as the bottom 90. And it's just going to keep going that way, and especially as technology develops, people's jobs are going to be lost. And so we got to prepare for that. And so even Obama has sort of hinted at that too.
So the problem with robots is that they don't buy stuff. and that's how you get an economy going, right? So if you replace everybody in fast food or anywhere else in any other industry, when you replace them with robots, the problem is, and that was taught that by I'm going to blank on his name, an economist who was on this show. I'll think of it in a second. The Scottish, and but he said the problem is that robots don't buy stuff. And so that's why FDR had such a successful recovery program, because he practiced demand economics, which means you give people a job and you put money in their pocket. They spend money. That creates demand in the economy, whereas what we've been living under is this Ronald Reagan supply side economic, which is you give more money to the people who already have the most, and then it will trickle down. And you'll say, sir, please, sir, another trickle of your wealth. So, oh, thank you, I've got to drop. So that's what they're practicing, but we need to practice the other thing, and that's what you would be for?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then one of the biggest things is a guaranteed job program. So
I'm for a guaranteed job program. Yes. Why? So again, you would think the Democrats would be screaming this at the top of their line. I mean, this is what FDR did, but people forget the Democrats unwound the New Deal in the 90s. I don't know how much.
I was born in 1990.
Yeah, so they unwound it. Bill Clinton unwound the New Deal. You never hear him mention the New Deal. They never mention FDR. They talk about, they quote Reagan, but they'll never quote FDR. I don't know what it is wrong with the Democrats. Yeah. So you have a good chance of winning this seat?
Yeah, a pretty good chance. I mean, based on these polls that our
what do the polls
candidates are using, like they're the ones putting up these polls, right?
Yeah, so they're doing their own internal polling,
right? So we're like top 6. And,
oh, really?
And then when you take out partisanship bias, because it's a huge Democrat, we're like 4th place out of 23 people. So we need to be top 2 to advance.
Oh, okay. So they do. Okay, that's right.
Unless someone gets over 50.01%.
Right.
Or 51.
Right. Okay. So. Oh, well, that's so you need to get in the top 2, and then the top 2 fight it out. Unless one of those top 2 already has 50% of the vote, then there's
they win the whole thing.
So there's no runoff or whatever, right?
Correct.
Okay, wow. So what do you well, I would love to see a progressive, anywhere in government. I think it's exciting, and the youth, I think that you represent your vision, I think speaks for more people. Right, than certainly anybody in the Democrat.
And then the thing we want to mention is what we just mentioned previously is like this is happening across, all over the world in different countries.
Yeah, so. Yeah. I mean, like people are waking up to this neoliberalism that has ruined the world.
People are opening up to more. The thing that our vision, our platform, what we're pushing for are things that are being implemented already in different countries or being tested. So
like what?
Like for example. 30-hour work weeks are being in Europe.
I mean, that is Sweden, such radical Germany, stuff to say.
Radical, right? But healthcare. That's still radical to people.
It's still radical to people. You're right.
Education.
Still radical, yeah. Guaranteed. But I'm all for that 30-hour. I'm all for all that stuff.
They're trying the basic income now in Scotland.
Yeah. So, oh, really? They're doing that in Scotland?
They're trying it in Oakland as well. So, I mean, we have to try it. So.
Wow. So these are some radical ideas, but I think it's time people, I tell people, what do you call a system that takes the richest country in the world, which is the United States, and renders half of its population poor? You call that a failed system. Right. So, and that's what was wrong with the Democrats. Just wanted to around the edges, incrementalism, and Bernie would say, "Hey, you sound like you want a revolution." And that's how he started every speech. It sounds like you guys are ready for a revolution. Yeah, people are ready for. We know the system is messed up, and I think we can. We need real radical ideas, which aren't really radical, by the way.
They're not.
They're already, like you said, they're already doing it. 30-hour work weeks, single payer health care. Commitment to education,
basic income,
So these aren't really that radical. They're only radical because you don't hear these ideas in mainstream news media because part of rolling back the New Deal was to consolidate the media, which is what Bill Clinton did. We used to have 50 giant communication companies, and now we have 6. So part of that is then they just narrow the debate, and you never hear stuff like that. You never hear about guaranteed income, right? And then if anything like that gets brought up, like by Bernie, people are like, "Ooh, that's a crazy."
Yep.
So all right. So what is your big pitch to the people? Where should they go? Where's your website? And how can people help out?
Right. So hello everyone. I'm Kenneth Mejia. I'm 26 years old. I'm running here representing the Green Party. And so if you want to help us and help bring power back to the people and you're sick of both Democrats and Republicans, come check us out. Help us out. Visit mejiaforcongress.com, MEJIA. You could volunteer. You could sign up to donate. And some of the biggest accomplishments that we have is that we're the only candidate to collect all 322 signatures to be on the ballot, while a majority of other candidates paid $1,740. So that just shows how much we're out there in the community.
So you can either get the signatures or pay a fee,
right.
And they decided to pay the fee and instead of getting the...
They give you 3.5 days to do that, and we're the only campaign to collect all 322 signatures. So I'm not paying close to $2,000 to be on the ballot. So that's how much we're in it. We have close to 500 volunteers.
Now, let me ask you 2 quick questions, and then we'll have to let you go. The Green New Deal, tell me about that. Are you for it, and what does it mean?
I mean, basically, the Green New Deal is pushing for 20 million new jobs to push towards 100% clean renewable energy by 2030, whether it be getting our energy sources from the sun, from water, from the wind. And so that's sort of, when you hear Jill Stein, she says we need to have a warlike mobilization because, climate change and even locally issues in LA, pollution we have close to 3,000 people die each year in LA, and it's sad. But we need to sort of start moving towards that path, towards clean renewable energy.
Well, we don't do big things anymore in America except militarily, right? Like we need, you talked about when Jill Stein says we need to have like a warlike mobilization. Well, that's how we got the interstate road system, right? Highway system was because they sold it to us as a defense. We have to have this for defense so we can move our missiles around.
Right.
And so now, but it really was a big boon to our economy. Now people can travel and we can ship goods a lot more efficiently and quicker. And so that's what, everything gets sold. If you sell it as a war thing, it'll get done. Yeah. Maybe you should sell windmills as a war thing.
Oh, God. Yeah. But, like they said, it helps the working class. It creates jobs.
Yes.
And so.
Yeah. Now, has the Green Party nationally, have they helped you at all in your campaign?
Yeah, I mean, we've been endorsed, and Jill Stein is helping us as well. So we actually have a lot of Greens nationwide who are communicating on behalf through emails, through social media. And we're also going to be speaking next weekend at the California Green Party State Convention. So
that's next week?
On Saturday in Bakersfield. So
we'll
be there.
Boy.
And we have our campaign rally on Sunday, and Jill Stein is going to be there. She's going to introduce me. Well, she's going to give her speech and then introduce me.
Oh, no
It's going to
kidding.
be here in LA. So
when is that?
It's going to be Sunday, March 12th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And it's on MejiaForCongress.com, and you can just check the calendar.
Okay.
And Jimmy Dore is invited. If he
All
wants
right.
to come and
maybe we'll
speak
come
or
down, get our new mobile camera, take it down there.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming on. I'm glad you had a chance to talk to the audience.
Yeah. Thank you, Jimmy.
All right. Best of luck. I love progressives. Hey, the next live Jimmy Dore show is March 4th. That's a Saturday. Get your tickets right below. The next one after that is March 20th. The shows sell out really fast, so get your tickets right now. Links right there.